Hi guys, welcome to my first official video. Today we will be showing you how to set up a computer system with two monitors. So for the setup you will need the following items. Alrighty, so for the setup you will need a UPS, a CPU, your two monitors, and your two monitor stands. Also, you will need your two power cables for your monitor. So you differentiate the power cables by the ends here. The power cables for the monitor, they say ASAP at the end here. So you will need power cables, two power cables, because you have two monitors. You will also need a power cable for your CPU. So the CPU power cable is a little bit different from the monitor power cables. The CPU cable, the holes are a little bit bigger. So you will need a CPU power cable. You will also need a VGA cable. So the VGA cable, it has two blue ends. So this is what the VGA cable looks like. You will also need D cables or D port cables. The D port cable, it has two similar ends, so it's actually one cable. It has two same ends. It kind of looks like the HDMI cable. However, the difference is there's a push button on each. You will use the button if you're removing the cable from the system. And finally, you will need your internet cable, because without internet, the computer cannot work. So you will need your internet cable. So in your box that you're going to receive, you should have the internet cable, the D cable, the VGA cable. You will have the three power cords. So it's two power cords for the monitors, and then one power cord for the CPU. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. We're going to set up the system and we will show you step by step as to how you will set up the system. Get started, guys. We are going to use the UPS. It's like a surge. It's a surge protector for your system. Ensure that you use the UPS when you're plugging in your stations, so as to not damage your station in case of outages. So for the UPS, you will need to plug the UPS in. I plugged mine in a surge as additional protection. At the back where it says battery and serve, that's where you will plug your system. It has three sections, one power cable for the CPU and the two power cables for the monitor. So again, this is what the UPS looks like. Once you plug the UPS in, you will need to turn the UPS on. So you will hit on the button to turn it on, and then you allow the beep to go away. It should be on green. This shows that it is charging. And so now we need to get the monitors to stand up as they are currently facing down. So what we will need to do is to insert the stand, set up the stand so that the monitors can stand up. So you will take this section here and you will place it onto the bottom part of the stand. You will insert it until you get a click. When you get that click, you know that you're good to go. Now what you need to do is, once you have inserted it onto the bottom of the stand, you're going to turn the stand around with the monitor facing down, and then you're going to insert this section into this section of your monitor. So I'm going to go ahead and insert it, and you insert it until you get that click. Once you get that click, you know that you're good to go. So let us make the monitor stand up to see what it looks like. Awesome. So now one of our monitors is standing up. So I'm going to go ahead and set up the next monitor. Alright, now guys, we have both of our monitors standing up. So now we're going to connect the cables to the monitor and the CPU so we can get both monitors to power on. So to do so, we are going to start with plugging in or inserting the power cable for each. So we're going to insert the power cable for the CPU and the power cable for both of the monitors. And then once that is done, we're going to plug it, all three cables in the UPS. Okay guys, so now we're going to insert the power cables for the monitors. Remember, we differentiate the power cable as the power cable for the monitors at the end, it says ASAP. So now we're going to insert both cables. So you insert the power cable at the back of the monitor, and to the left hand side of your monitor you will insert the cable here. So this is how I'm inserting the cable. So you will basically just match the end of the cable to the insert section of the monitor. So the middle piece should be at the top. So we're gonna go ahead and insert it here, and you push it right up until it cannot go any further. Alright, so I'm just going to insert the next one, guys. Okay guys, so now we're going to insert the power cable. We're inserting the power cable in the CPU. So we're inserting this end of the power cable in the CPU. So you're inserting it here, and you will do the same for the monitor. You match it with the end part of the cable versus the inserts area in the CPU. So I'm going to go ahead and insert the power cable in the CPU so that it can power on. So now we're going to set up the VGA cable and the D port cable so that our monitors can power on. So to set up the cable, I'm going to first set up the VGA cable. So what I'm going to do is to set up my main screen. Now I want my first screen to be my main screen, so I'm setting up the VGA cable to the main screen. So to set up the VGA cable, one end should be attached to one of your monitor, and the next end should be attached to your CPU. So watch me as I go ahead and do so. So I'm first attaching the end to the CPU. Once you insert it, ensure that you screw the little screws that are on it. If you don't screw them tightly enough, you will get a display error on your screen. The monitor may look a little out of color. The color may look different, or it may appear purple. So now that I've inserted one end of my VGA cable in the CPU, I'm going to insert the next end into my main monitor. So I'm going to go ahead now, and you will insert it at the back, and it's to the right side of your monitor. So let me go ahead and insert it, and I will do the same. So I'll insert it, and then I screw. Alright guys, so it's now completely inserted and it's tightly screwed. So I know that it's tightly screwed because when I pull on it, it doesn't come out. Same thing for the CPU, when I pull on it, it doesn't come out. So now I'm going to set up this now would have completed setting up my main monitor. Now I want my second monitor to display as well, so I'm going to set up my second monitor. And to do so, I'm setting up my second monitor with the D cable, or the D port cable, which looks like the HDMI cord as we mentioned earlier. So I'm going to set one end to the monitor and then another end to the CPU. The CPU, at the back of the CPU, I'm going to look for the section here that matches the port. So I'm going to insert it here, ensure that it matches exactly the shape of the port. So I'm entering it just as to not be overcrowded. I'm using the second one here. So I'm going to go ahead and insert that one here. in my CPU, and it's tightly inserted. So it's tightly inserted so it doesn't fall out. Now I'm going to attach the next end to the monitor so that it can display the screen. Okay, so to insert this end of the D port cable to the second monitor, I'm going to use the port that is beside the VGA port. So it's not this port, but the one beside it. So I'm going to use the port beside it on the monitor. So I'm going to go ahead and insert the second in to my second monitor. One way to know that you're inserting it properly is that the push part should always be facing you. So I'm going to insert it now, and it's inserted, and I know that it's fully inserted because when I pull on it, it doesn't come out. This means that we would have inserted all of our cables. The only thing that we need to do now is to plug in each of the power cable as well as to add the keyboard and the mouse. I will show you exactly how to do so as well. Alright, so now guys, we're going to ensure that our internet is up and running. So before we power it on, before we plug in the power cards in the UPS, we're going to insert our internet cable. So what I did was, so I went ahead and I already inserted one end of the power cable to my internet service provider box. So now I'm going to insert the next end to the CPU. So I went ahead and moved my CPU over to this side because I cannot work with the CPU on the same table. The table is a little bit small, so I only now have my screens on my table and my UPS. So I'm going to go ahead and insert the internet cable cord. So to insert it, I will go ahead and insert this section here into this cable. To know that it is actually, or the computer is actually getting internet is when a light comes on. However, you won't see the light until I plug in the power cable. So I'm going to insert it here, and you should also listen out for the click. All the cords that I need, all the necessary cords were already plugged in. So now I'm going to plug in the power cable, and then as I mentioned before, I placed my CPU at the bottom because it cannot fit on the table with my monitor. So now I only have my two monitors on the table along with the UPS. So now that I've inserted all the necessary cables, I'm going to go ahead and insert the power cables so that both monitors and the CPU can come on. So what I will do is the power cable for both monitors, I'm going to insert it in the UPS. So I insert one here, and as I said, push it right up, and then I insert the next one here. Alright, so that's fully in. So now guys, this is the power cable for the end of the power cable for my CPU. So I'm going to insert this power cable in the UPS as well. So I went ahead and did so, and it's fully in. So what I'm going to do now is to insert my UPS. So I plug that in my Surge, or you can just plug it in your wall. It's the safest way is to plug it in another Surge. So I'm going to go ahead and do so. Okay guys, so if you notice, my CPU, it is not on the floor, it's not laying on the floor. That's because it is very important that you don't put any of your systems on the floor. So I went ahead and I put it on a stand that I have on my table. If your CPU can hold on your table, then you can always put it on your table. But if not, ensure that you have a table that has a stand. So now we're going to boot on the system. We're going to boot up the system. So to do so, I'm going to go ahead and first turn on the UPS. I went ahead and I already plugged it in. So I'm going to turn on the UPS. When I turn the UPS on, it will beep. Once it goes to the green light, then you know that your UPS is fully on. So now my two monitors, if you notice, because I turned the UPS on, the two monitors came up. So you won't see anything because the CPU is not yet booted up. So I'm going to go ahead and boot up the CPU, and I press the button to turn it on, and then I'm just going to allow it to fully come on. Addition to the items that were listed before that you would have needed to set up your system, there are a few other things that you will need. So of course you will need your mouse, and your mouse, ensure that you're using the mouse or the tools or items that are provided by your place of employment. Do not use your personal devices on the systems. So our mouse, we will also need a keyboard, and this is what we refer to as a YubiKey. So it looks like this. You will use it to access your network. However, guys, you will learn more about this YubiKey, so I will show you how it should be inserted in your CPU as well. So guys, it is very important, let me just highlight this here, that the end of your mouse, the end of your keyboard, and your YubiKey, they all must go in a USB port on the CPU. All three, they should go in a separate port on the CPU. So I'm going to go ahead and insert first the mouse, and then the keyboard, and then I will insert the YubiKey. So I use the front of my CPU to insert my keyboard and my mouse because of the length of the cords, and I want enough length so that I'm able to move the mouse around and utilize the tools. However, you can place it at the back if you're more comfortable with placing it at the back. So I'm going to insert both in one of the USB ports on the CPU. So I'll insert first the keyboard, and then I will insert the mouse. So both are now inserted. So we're going to watch our system power up now, meaning that we have it. Alright, so guys, now that I've inserted the keyboard and the mouse, you're able to see the mouse on the screen. So what will happen is that until you fully log into the system, you will see this screen, your second screen will be dark. So you will, if you're looking now, you're seeing the light on this screen here. So now I'm going to log in so that you can see the second screen power up. So because this screen is my main screen, you will see all my apps that are on my desktop, and then this is my second screen. You're able to see the apps on the taskbar. In order to get one app or one application from the main screen to the second screen, you will simply drag the tool. So I'm going to go ahead and drag the application from the main screen to the second screen. So once you drag it, you should see it on your second screen. So now both screens are powered up, both screens are working, keyboard and mouse is also working. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to also insert your YubiKey as well. So for the YubiKey, guys, we are inserting the YubiKey as it mentioned in the USB port on your CPU. When you are inserting the YubiKey, this gold section or this section with a little Y in it should not face you. When you insert it, it should face the opposite direction. So now I'm going to find one of the USB ports, and then I will insert it. Once you insert it and it is properly inserted, a green light will come up in the Y to show that you have inserted or you have correctly inserted the YubiKey. Okay guys, so all of our system is now set up. Both monitors are powered up, as well as the keyboard and the mouse. I noticed that there's a little section here where the sound is. You're seeing an X on it. That is because I've not inserted my headset as yet, so I'm gonna go ahead and insert my headset. So if you have a similar headset like this one, where it has a 5CN and the little phone section here, this is how you will set up this headset. So first you will have to insert the 5CN to the phone section here. You will insert it here, and then the end of the phone section, you will insert this part in the USB port on your CPU. So I'm going to go ahead and insert it. Okay guys, so I'm going to go ahead and insert my headset in the USB at the front of my CPU. If it works for you at the back, then that is fine as well, because the headset, the cord is also short and I want to be able to be moving, so I'm going to insert it at the end so I get a longer length. So I'm going to insert it in the USB section here on my CPU. Once I've inserted it, you will now see the X from the screen. It is now gone. Okay, awesome guys, so this would have brought us to the end. Okay, awesome guys, so this would have brought us to the end of the video. Now you have seen that both of my monitors are up and running, which is awesome, and my headset is now working. It's inserted and it's working. My keyboard is working as well as my mouse is working. I hope that you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope that you were able to set up your system. It helped you in setting up your system. Please remember to like the video, share it with a friend, and comment how you found the video. Also, you can subscribe to my channel for more videos.